Welcome back to my channel Conquer the Fear. If you are deep diving into building the REST a full API with a Spring Boot, chances are that you have come across the URLs with a multiple dynamic segments. Now something like this one which I am showing you as an highlighted one where we have a category ID, and then also under that product we have the product ID. But how exactly do you map this particular multiple path segment to this particular method parameter in a clean or type safe way? We are going to look into this. Well, you are not the alone one who is facing this particular problem or in the confusion. Now the question is, how do you handle this multiple at the rate path variable annotation in Spring Boot? Now is one of the most frequently asked interview question as well. So for a good reason, I'm going to reveal you how it is going to work. What are the design principles with when you're dealing with Spring MVC routing, and how the path resolution work behind the scenes. So in this ultimate guide, we are not only breakdowning how to use the multiple path variable value in the real world API, but also how you will connect from the database, and then how you can use it in the project. Now, if you look into this particular application, which I've already created, right? So I have created this particular project from the starter.spring.io, where I have added the dependencies as data, Spring Data JPA, web, and the S2 database. Okay. Now I will go to the properties. Here actually I have added the S2 databases and the details. The port number is 9091, and ultimately in this particular thing actually this is the main application. Now here actually if you see the command liner, I have added the new database over here, new data at the start of this particular application. We'll look into the product and other details. So the very first thing what we are going to look into is it. If you go to the product, okay, now this is an entity, okay, so I mark this as an add there entity, and this is the ID, okay, unique primary key, and then I have a category ID, name, and the price. So now we are based on this particular two IDs, we are going to find the data from the database, and then we are going to return it. Okay, I've added the constructor and the getter setter for it. You can also use the lombok, which will save your time for creating this particular getter setter constructor and all other things. Post that, I've created a service over here. Okay, now inside this services, I have actually imported this particular repository and trying to initialize it over here, and then ultimately I'm calling this particular find by ID. Now if you go to the repository, okay, I will go to the repository over here. Okay, in repository I have extended using the JPA repository the product. Okay, so this one actually if you see here, it is customly written. So now what will happen is that based on this particular category and the product ID, now this will automatically create the query, and actually it will find that. Okay, so here I am not writing any query. Automatically Spring repository, this will be taken care of, writing the exact query, because I am passing by category ID and the product ID over here. Okay, so based on that, the condition of the where clause will be added, and then it will automatically take care of that part. Okay, now once we have this particular service and the repository and the model in place, now we have to go with the product category controller. Okay, so here at the very top I have already marked this as a REST controller, and then I've added the request mapping over here, and then I've imported this particular service over here. So as the controller pass on the request to the service, and the service is going to call the repository over here. Okay, now here I have written a mapping over here. I have written one method which is going to get the products. Now specifically if you check out this particular URL, this will be the root URL, and post that this particular thing will be appended. Now if you notice this over here, the category ID is marked as a dynamic over here, and the product is hard coded, and then the product ID is marked as a dynamic over here. Okay, so you have to check out this particular two variables. So now if you see here, this is at the rate path variable. So what exactly the path variable is this? It is going to be taken up that particular value from the URL itself. Okay, so the dynamic part, whatever you are trying to mention in this URL, it will be taken up there, and it will be mapped to this particular category ID in the product ID. And once you get this particular value, we will be passing it to the service, and then the service to the repository, and then it will go to the database to the HT, and then it will return. Okay, So this is how you map that particular multiple path variables. So many in if you notice, like, if you have attended many interviews, right, so you'll be seeing like the most frequently asked question is that how do you assign that particular path variable, how do you, design this particular REST API with multiple path variables. Like, there might be, now this is the case of, two path variable, there might be a possibility of, more than three, more than four of them actually in the path variable, right? So this is where how you can apply the same things over there. Okay, I hope you got an understanding. Now once it returns, if everything it finds it, it returns the okay, or else it will find a not. Okay, now I will restart my application over here. I had earlier started it. Now if you remember, I've already told that, at the start of this particular thing, it will be going to the database, and then it will be checking that things. Okay, it will be creating that data in the database. Okay, now if you look at this particular browser, I've opened this, and actually I'm going to connect it with the database. Now if you see, there is a product already there created at the startup, and if you see, there are two rows over here. Now I'm going to find this particular value, product category 1 and the category 2, sorry, product 1. Okay, now I'll navigate to the postman. Now if you see the URL, I'm getting this, I have created the method as a get. Now the URL, if you see, I'm passing this particular category 1 and the product 1 over here. Okay, and then I'm going to request it. Now if you see, it is returning this particular data over here. Okay, now if I change this to 2 dynamically, it will again return the data which is there from the 2, right? If you see, this is actually returning that value. Okay, I hope this video was very helpful to you. Please share this video with the needy people. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thank you.